So around the end of high school, I went to this little gathering with my friends and some of their friends. And at this gathering was a girl that I really, really liked. It just so happens that she liked me too. And I know that because, well, first of all, we were flirting. It was pretty obvious through our texts, but also because she had told her friends, who then told my friends. Now, the interesting part is that even though I know she liked me, when we were at this gathering, I didn't speak to her, other than hello. I specifically remember the one moment where I'm standing there at this gathering and I see her talking to another one of our guy friends. And they're having fun, they're like laughing, they're getting along well. And something in that moment just like bubbled up inside of me. There was just this feeling of, it was like this, something tightened in my chest. Something dropped, like my heart sank, and then it turned into this almost like anxiousness. And that's when I pretty much like decided to keep my distance from her that night. Now, one of my best friends who knew I really liked her and that she really liked me, pulled me into the room, sat me down into on one of the beds, and was asking me like, dude, what's going on? Why are you not talking to her? She's like waiting for you to talk to her. And at first, I couldn't really give him a response. I was just like, oh, I don't know, dude. You know, it's like, whatever. Like, you know, I don't need to. Or like trying to act cool. You know, trying to act like I didn't care, basically. But he was a really good friend, so he stopped me. He was like, dude, come on. Like, what's happening? Why are you not talking to her? And I said, I don't know. I saw her talking to this other guy, and, you know, it just seems like she's more interested in these other guys than she is in me. And my friend looks at me, he's like, dude, what are you talking about? You know she likes you. She told me she likes you. So who cares if she's like talking to another guy? They're just friends. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, I guess, but it's hard to kind of not see that and to still pursue her. Now, my friend was not the most intelligent person in the world, which turned out to be a really good benefit, but it just wasn't making sense to him. So again, he was like, okay, but you know she likes you. She said she likes you. Why does it matter if she's talking to another guy? Like, why? What does that mean? And I sat there and I was like, I don't know, maybe it just means that she's not interested in me, and that she's more interested in these other guys. And again, it just wasn't getting through to his head, and he was like, okay, yeah, but like, that's not the case, so why does that matter? And I started to get like a bit annoyed with him, because I was like, dude, you're asking me the same question. And I was like, I don't know, well, if she didn't like me, then, or if she wasn't interested in me, then I guess it means that I don't have a chance, and that there's no point in trying. And again, he was like, okay, but so what? You know she likes you, right? He was looking at the situation very simply, with the facts and with the evidence, and it wasn't getting through to his head. He was just like, dude, she likes you. She told me she likes you. You know she likes you. So what is going on? And I got really, really frustrated, and I just like came out. I was like, I'm just not good enough for her. And in that moment, it kind of all just clicked in my head. And I saw it so clearly in that moment, where it wasn't about her. It wasn't about the fact she was talking to these guys. What was really going on was I didn't believe I was good enough. So I looked at this external situation of her talking to this other guy, and it triggered something inside of me. It triggered this belief of I'm not good enough. If she's talking to that guy, he's probably better than me. She's probably more interested in him than me, instead of just seeing that they're friends. And when that belief got hit, that's when I just shut down. I was like, well, there's no point in trying. You know, I'm not going to be better than that guy. I'm not good enough for her, so why even bother? And the craziest thing was, when I look back on it, I was so oblivious. I was so unaware. And I made every excuse other than the truth of what it was to justify the fact I wasn't talking to her, even though it was like in the bag, as in like she liked me and she was literally waiting for me to speak to her. I really in that moment could see how much that deeper belief was shaping my life and controlling my decisions. So a few years later, when I took a degree in psychology, I came across one of these techniques to find or identify limiting beliefs or deeper beliefs. And it's known as the laddering question technique. And I recognized that it was pretty much set up in the same way that my friend, who just couldn't really understand the deeper mechanics of it all, was doing to me without even knowing. So allow me to share this technique with you, because it will help you find any deeper belief that you have. And that is one of the most important first steps in then shifting them. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to identify a negative thought that's coming up in your mind. The thought that is almost causing you or convincing you to do or not do something that is untrue to who you are. For example, in that story, you could see that thought was, I'm sitting there in the situation, I'm looking at her chatting to another guy, and the thought is, she's more interested in them than she is in me, or I don't have a chance compared to that guy, or whatever. If you struggle with that, another method you can use is try and feel into the feeling that you're having in that moment. In the moment where you are being stopped or forced to do something that is not who you are or not allowing you to be who you want to be. Notice that feeling, really feel into that feeling and ask, what is this feeling telling me right now? Or what is the negative thought connected to this feeling? That's not necessarily the real belief that's going on. That's usually just the first layer. But sometimes there's a surface level belief planted in that section right there, but that's something we'll go into later. The next thing we want to do is we want to ask ourselves a very simple question. If that were true, what would that mean to you? What would that mean to me? What would that mean about other people? What would that mean about the world? But just to make it simple, what would that mean to me? Or what would that mean? This will take you one layer deeper. As you could see back in that story, what my friend did without even realizing is he was taking me deeper. If it were true that she was more interested in these other guys than me, it would mean that I don't have a chance, or that these other guys are better than me. Then what we want to do is we want to take that and we do it again. Same question, but now with that second layer statement. If that were true, what would that mean to me? What would that mean? Same thing. Well, if it were true that I didn't have a chance or these other guys were better than me, it would mean that I'm not good enough. Now, you can try and keep going, and really the secret here is to try and go as deep as you can and really allow the feeling to guide you. As soon as you start getting to like the deeper beliefs, the deeper substance underneath what's going on, it's going to start getting uncomfortable. It's going to start feeling raw. Let that be almost inspiration for what comes out. You want to keep following this chain, this question and answer, until it lands on something about you. Deep statements, ideas, or beliefs about you, who you are, what you are, so on and so forth. For example, I'm not enough, I'm unwanted, I'm nothing, I'm unsafe, I can't trust myself. These are just a few examples of like the most common deep beliefs. Now, I mentioned earlier, our brain has a defense mechanism, and this is something we want to look out for as we're doing this type of exercise. Now, the defense mechanism is known as intellectualizing. Now, what will happen, especially when you ask yourself that question, what does that mean to me, is your brain will try and dismiss, jump to some type of logic, or argue the answer that you naturally come up with. It's not because it's wrong or that you're wrong, it's because that belief feels too vulnerable to the brain. The brain doesn't want you to go deep into that, uncomfortable space. It wants you to feel good and happy and blah, 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 as much as you can, often in ways that are actually detrimental, but that's not going to be helpful for you here. In this exercise, we want to go with almost the first answers that we have. So how do we then counteract this defense mechanism? Well, the trick, which is pretty much baked into this exercise, is to pretend that the statements that you come up with are true, like 100% true. Imagine they are real, but only for this exercise, right? We don't want to go through life imagining all the worst case things are happening. So just for the 5 to 10 minutes that you're doing this exercise, imagine and pretend that it is true. For example, coming back to mine, I would need to imagine that her speaking to these other guys genuinely meant that she was more interested in them than me. And it wasn't just because she's trying to be friendly or she is friendly or whatever. That will allow me to then tap into what's underneath that for me and continue going down and down and down. And we're not doing it because it is true. 9 times out of 10 it's not. It's our own internal thoughts and fears. We're doing it because it helps you bypass the defense mechanism of the brain, intellectualizing. Now I want to make an important side note here, which is something I spoke about in the beginning, which is there are 2 levels of beliefs. Now these are surface level beliefs and deeper beliefs. Deeper beliefs are what we just spoke about now. The I'm not good enough, I'm unwanted, I can't trust myself, so on and so forth. Like the real core deep beliefs that are usually about you as a person. We also have surface level beliefs, which will come up usually in the beginning or middle of this exercise as we go deeper and deeper and deeper. And these are usually situational beliefs. So they can be beliefs about other people, about the world in general, about your abilities, not about you or your core as a person. Those are the deep beliefs. Now the cool thing about this is surface level beliefs can usually be shifted pretty easily with just some clarity, a perception shift, even seeing something that opposes that belief. So it's very easy to almost just like let go of or convince yourself through logic and rationality and reasoning that it's not necessarily the case and that it comes from somewhere else or was implanted or whatever. But core beliefs, on the other hand, require a bit more work, a little bit more of a psychological depth to it. This is where deeper work comes in, like belief shifting, inner child work, so on and so forth. And usually my suggestion, unless you know the techniques and the exercises well, it's really helpful to work with somebody while you're doing that. That way they can hold a space for you and they can point out and see things that you might not be able to in the moment. So I mean, now that we understand this a bit better and we have a technique that can literally help us find these deeper beliefs, it's important to understand why we're doing this in the first place. When you start being able to identify these deeper beliefs, you begin just by seeing them, separating yourself from the conditioning and the beliefs that once shaped you. And that helps you reconnect to the truer, more authentic version of you underneath them. The coolest part about this is what really allows your nervous system to calm down. It also helps you change your decisions, make decisions that are more aligned with you, and ultimately reconnect yourself, return to your truest version of you. Once you see a belief, it loses its power. It can no longer control you unconsciously. And then you can start acting from who you really are, not who you were programmed to be. So I want to invite you to just try this technique out once this week on something that's small but real, because you'll be really surprised what is going on underneath these decisions and actions that you make. It can be difficult sometimes to do this on your own. You can get stuck in your head, you can get hit by the defense mechanism of your brain, and therefore having someone there to help you can be really beneficial. They can see things that you can't see, they have experience potentially that they can then offer you as you work through it. It also allows you to tap more into the subconscious state that allows you to come up with these answers and really understand the mechanics and the deeper roots to all of this. So if you'd like some support in uncovering these deeper beliefs and then even going deeper into shifting them, my one-on-one coaching link is down below in the description and in my bio. I invite you to ponder working with me, and you'll get a lot more information about it on that page, in that link. Otherwise, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, because all of my videos are going to be based around how we can start reconnecting and remembering our truest self. I'll see you in the next one.